Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, I got the Cosmic Peach, Julia, with me today. What is going on, Julia? It is amazing to have you on again. What is up?
Thanks, Nick. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm hoping Ryder can blow my mind on some Virginia Giuffre. And I actually looked into this for this episode, and I'm super excited about it. But yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. No, I figured you would really enjoy this, so I had to get you on. And the Headless Giant. What is going on, buddy?
How's it going? You can find me at the Headless Giant on Twitter and on YouTube. If you'd like, you can send me an email with your strange, magical, mystical experiences at the Headless Giant podcast at gmail.com. So,
yeah. Thank you very much, sir. And we got JJ Vance. What is going on, my man?
Nick, greetings, sir. As always, appreciate the invite. Headless and Julia, always enjoy conversations here with the Occult Rejects. And Ryder, I'm definitely good to see you again there, bud. Definitely stoked to hear and discuss this conversation. You gave me a little introduction last week on your podcast when I was over there, and highly recommend folks check that conversation out for some ancient alien cargo cult discussions. But I'm excited for some, well, I guess as excited as you can be about a sex traffic victim who died on untimely death, and seemingly never left the system. But I am excited about the conversation, and let's, looking forward to it here. JJ Vance, host of Operation GCD, and notably, again, not the vice president.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much, JJ. Always look forward to your input. I'm sure you'll have something to add. And finally, the guest himself. He's been on the show multiple times. We always enjoy having him on. Like I've told him before, just let me know when you have a topic. You're always welcome. So we got Ryder Lee. What is going on, sir? Thank you very much for joining us again.
What's going on, Nick? Good to see you guys. What's up, Headless? What's up, Cosmic Peach and JJ Vance? Thanks for having me on. This thing is a giant freaking rabbit hole, dude, and I've done 8 shows on it so far on my podcast, on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist of all the shows that I've done on it. Just go to the channel, hit playlist, and then you can listen to all of them. But I'm going to try and give a really solid overview here for you guys, for everyone, that hopefully can make sense of this whole thing, because I've broke it all down. Like I've gotten to I literally paid $25 to do a genealogy report from ancestry.com just to figure all this shit out. So
I did that.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Was that a fruitful effort with that report? Was it an AI generated thing? I'm interested. What are we talking about here?
No, it was a real thing. I needed to do the genealogy because there were so many different discrepancies between her brothers. Are they her brothers? Are they not her brothers? Are they her stepbrothers? Are they her half brothers? Sure. So then I went back and I looked into her mom, who her mom was married to before, and figured that out, where her brothers came from. And it turns out that one of her brothers is a half brother because it came from a previous marriage from her mom, Lynn Trude Cabell. She got married to a gentleman named Greg Wilson in 1978. And then they had a son in 1980. And then they got divorced 2 years later. And then she married Virginia Giuffre's dad, Sky Roberts, and then they had Virginia a year later, and then 4 years later they moved to Florida, and then they had another child, and they named him Sky Rocket Roberts in Florida. So Virginia's person that she's calling her brother is actually her stepbrother, which is Daniel Wilson, and then her this is where the whole confusion comes in, because some people refer to them as her stepbrothers, like her Wikipedia page. If you were to pull up her Wikipedia page right here, actually, I have it. It says Virginia Giuffre was born Virginia Louise Roberts in Sacramento on August 8th, 1983 to Sky Williams Roberts and Lynn Trude Cabell. She had 2 stepbrothers, Sky and Daniel. But a lot of people just refer to them as her brothers, but several other news outlets report them as her stepbrother. So I'm like, I got to figure all this out. So I got on the genealogy. I looked up all the dates, looked at the birth certificates, found old pictures of them together and everything. So we solved that on the show. So
Nice.
Daniel Wilson. Hold on, let me pull up a photo of.
What did you say her maiden name was? Giuffre's mother's maiden name?
Her maiden name is Cabell.
Cabell.
Yes.
Like Charles Cabell, the former CIA director, or his brother, who was the mayor of Dallas in 11/22/63. That kind of Cabell.
Yeah, I think so. It's the same spelling, but this
that's interesting.
This is Daniel Wilson. This is her half brother. It would be because they have the same mom. Okay, so it's not even her stepbrother. Neither one of them are her stepbrothers, and her other brother is Sky Rocket Roberts. Let me see if there's a photo of all three of them. Here they are. Okay, here's Virginia in the middle. To the left here is Sky Rocket Roberts, which is her biological brother, and then to the right is her half brother, Daniel Wilson. Daniel Wilson lives in Texas, and Sky Rocket Roberts lives in Colorado Springs. But they lived in Florida for a long time, and Florida is where Sky Rocket Roberts was born, was in Florida. So he is Virginia's biological brother. Now, what's really interesting is pretty sure I'd have to go back and check, but I looked at all their Facebook pages. I actually brought up all their Facebook pages on my show because they're all public Facebook pages. I'm really surprised they haven't made them all private by now.
Yeah.
From everything that I was looking into.
Seriously, is that intentional for some reason? Like, why would they leave that? I mean, they got to
I'm
be
actually a little
getting
surprised, though.
messages from folks and reporters, right?
I was just about to say that whole pose right there kind of looks staged. I mean, a lot of this stuff seems planted. I don't know.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked to learn. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of shocked to learn they're public, right? I mean, that seems a bit shocking, right?
Well, I can't remember which one it was. I'd have to look it up again. But one of them works for Tesla, and another one works for the Blue Origin flight crew from Jeff Bezos's flight crew that just went into space.
Did he get a chance to work the all-lady space flight? Was he on that mission?
That's where I think that it's.
Yeah, so he was involved in that, huh?
It's either Daniel Wilson or Sky Rocket Roberts. One of them worked for. I'd have to not Google it, but Facebook it really quickly. But I think that it's one of them that currently works for Blue Origin, and the other one worked for Tesla. Formerly worked for Tesla. It might have been Daniel Wilson. He lives in Texas, but. Yeah, one of them works for Blue Origin for Jeff Bezos.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just thought that was like super interesting. As I was looking into all this stuff, I was like, okay, well, both of her brothers supposedly work for these people that are supposedly shooting things in the space. It's weird.
That is wild. That is
two space industrial complex companies, huh? Right.
See, at that point, I wouldn't believe much of anything that they're showing you visually.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think it's sort of like what Peter Thiel is good for. You know, he can have these cutouts put into any of these new tech businesses.
That's we're talking NASA contractors. Really, we can call them Blue Origin, we can call them Tesla, but they're contractors of NASA, right?
Yeah, that's basically what they are. Yeah, they're being funded by
privatized NASA.
Yeah, privatized NASA.
Yeah, and at that point, I think it's all smoke and mirrors.
Okay, well, they hid their work stuff, but it's on I think that it's on Virginia Giuffre Mandela Effect Part 7, where I show their Facebook profiles, and it says exactly where they work.
Nice.
Well, according to them, of course, but they've hidden their work stuff now. But Sky Roberts has like 3 different Facebook pages, so it could be on one of these.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, because I'm new to learning about this woman, where does her story like start? How does she even?
Oh, you're gonna love this, Julia. You're gonna love this.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I mean I know
No,
the
it's
top
a good
notes,
one.
but okay,
It's a good one.
cool.
I don't.
No,
No.
I'm not going to steal Ryder's thunder there, but no, she's got a very, very interesting backstory.
Okay, so it's Sky Roberts that worked for. It looks like he was a former regional performance coach for Tesla, so that would have to be Daniel Wilson. So the guy on the right of Virginia works for Blue Origin.
Yeah, that's what you said originally.
Interesting.
Okay, so essentially what happened is after they moved to Florida whenever Virginia was 4, then they had Skyrocket Roberts here from the left. Virginia's dad, Sky Roberts, again, they're both named the exact same name. Virginia's dad is Williams Roberts. So you have Wilson, Williams, Sky. They all share the exact. And then there's another Jeffrey Epstein victim that also has a name as Sky, that also supposedly killed themselves. So there's so many different. Everyone has very similar names in this entire thing. So whenever they moved to Florida, Virginia's dad was a maintenance man. And he worked on maintenance properties in California. That was his profession in California when they lived here. Here I live in California, so I just said here. But when they moved to Florida, he got a job at Mar-a-Lago, Virginia's dad, as a maintenance man. Then he got Virginia a job at Mar-a-Lago, supposedly in like the spa area or whatever. Okay. And that's where they met Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's how she got into the whole fold. But she was trafficked before that by another famous sex trafficker in Florida that is currently in prison. I would have to find the article to find out his exact name, but he's in prison right now. So she was trafficked by him for a long time before she was even brought into the Epstein fold. And then she was also abused by a family member's friend, a friend of a family member, it's reported in these articles. So she was abused by a family member of a friend, which that's what they look for, right? They want people that have had prior abuse, people that have been abused before, to be a part of this whole thing because they've already been, essentially like, broken in.
Traumatized.
Exactly. Trauma is the key to like all this stuff. So
I was going to say this follows the pattern of trauma victim or SRA victim just to a T.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's abused by a friend of a family member, family friend. Then she's trafficked to this other big sex trafficker in Florida, and then she's taken with Jeffrey Epstein. She's going on all these flights. Her dad is talking about in one of the Pierce Morgan interviews. It's not the one that we have pulled up, but it's another one, and he's like, I had no idea what was going on. I was just like letting her, which I don't know how much of that is true. It feels like that their entire family is in on this whole thing, that they know, they have to know,
right?
Like generational
like
Satanism.
Speaking, for sure. Because like logistically speaking, how would her father not know she's not away? She's away from the house and the club she works at because he works there too. Like I feel like, that's a little tough.
I'm curious about that too, but do you know about how old she was when the abuse like first started, like with the family member?
I'm wondering about that.
It wasn't a family member. It was a friend of a family member. I don't believe that it was an actual family member because that's a different kind of a different kind of thing. If it's an actual family member, it's not a Kathy O'Brien type of scenario where it was her dad that was doing it to her. But I would be guessing very young. So at least after the age of 4, I would say. Somewhere after she was 4. But it's not specifically said the actual time frame. It might say it in her book that she wrote. I haven't read her book, but it might go into more detail in her book when it happened. But I would say sometime after the age of 4.
And how old was she when she started working at Mar-a-Lago?
I think around 15 or 16, I would say.
Okay.
Because she was brought in
Yeah, I
with
think maybe.
at 17. So, well, no, I was actually before that. So she worked for Epstein
Yeah.
for 10 years. And then she got out of that whole thing in 2001 whenever she met her husband in Thailand, whenever Epstein sent her there to go to massage school. So that's how she met her husband. So she had already been in with Epstein for 10 years prior to her getting away from them. So that would have been what, 91? So she would have had to have started. She was born in, when did it say here? She was born in 83. So she would have been what, 9? Yeah, 9 years. No. What's 83 minus 91?
That's 9, but I think you were
9.
on track there before. I think it was 14 when she first started working in the ladies' locker room there and met old Lady Ghislaine, right?
Yeah, and that's how Ghislaine met her, and then Ghislaine introduced her to Jeffrey Epstein, and then I think that what happened, I don't have any proof of this, but I think that they did something like Epstein was paying off her dad or something like that. Like it had to be some version of that. And then she meets her husband in Thailand in 2001. They get married 11 days later, and then she completely cuts off contact with Epstein and Ghislaine.
I mean, when you're implying that Epstein may have been paying off her father, I mean, that seems, obviously reasonable, but even more reasonable when you consider they clearly knew each other, Epstein and her father. They clearly had interacted there at the club in some regard, at least were aware of each other in that regard.
Oh, sorry, it was 2002, so she would have been 10. Okay, I mean, she wouldn't have been 10 when she met him, but it was 2002, not 2001. My bad. I guess some of these, it's hard to remember a lot of this shit. So Virginia met her husband over 2 decades ago. They reportedly first crossed paths while at massage school in Thailand in 2002, but they don't say in this article that Jeffrey Epstein was the one that sent her to Thailand to the massage school. It says it in one of these other articles. But we don't really know anything more about her husband other than he was a martial arts instructor and was supposedly teaching martial arts at this massage school in Thailand. And
Totally normal.
Yeah. Whatever an Australian martial artist is doing in Thailand, teaching martial arts at a massage school is pretty weird to me. But then that's whenever they met, and they then married 11 days later in Thailand, and then they moved to the United States for a little bit, and then I believe in around 2020 they then moved to Australia permanently.
Sounds very weird. I don't know.
Is it possible they're using this whole Epstein thing as a way of menacing the people on the client list? Like that's why they're not going after anybody on the client list.
It's a good question, Headless, because they did publish 5 other recruiters' names on the front page of, I believe, the Miami Herald, circa 7 or 8 years ago. So, she was obviously a victim, but also later a recruiter. I'm just saying we don't ever really hear about those other recruiters now, do we?
Right.
Well, there's a really interesting video that I did yesterday with David Oates where he does like reverse speech. And I don't know if you guys know about reverse speech, but it's essentially where whatever you say forwards, like, and you play it backwards. You remember I think it was Leonard Skinner, not Highway to Heaven, but Stairway to Heaven or whatever. And then you play it backwards and it says worship the devil, worship Satan. That's the same type of technology that he uses. And the whole thing about it is if you play something in reverse, whenever someone says it, it reveals whether they're like telling the truth because it'll confirm what they said forwards.
Right.
Right. And there's a few that I'm going to play here a little bit later, the ones he done on Prince Andrew and Virginia's dad and Virginia. But on all accounts, it seems like Virginia is telling the truth. Prince Andrew is lying through his freaking face. Virginia's dad is also telling the truth. But it's just, it's really interesting. But there was another gentleman that he did on Prince Andrew. I forget what the guy's name was, but it was well, let me look at this really quickly. But he found another person's name that came up in the reverse of Prince Andrew that let me see here. What is it? Greg came up, and Prince Andrew basically says that he now goes to Greg for sex, right? So in the reverse speech. So basically implying that there's way more Epstein-like figures out there running around. It's not just Epstein. This is like a whole giant thing that's continuing to go on. And it was just like, oh, well, Epstein got caught, so we're going to throw Epstein under the bus and we're going to make it seem like that this isn't going on anymore and it's done with him. It's the same with, Diddy in the music industry. Oh, well, we got the music industry guy. Now it's all cleared up in the music industry. And then we had Harvey Weinstein, which was in the film industry. It's cleaned up out of the film industry. It's no longer in the film industry. Bullshit.
Don't forget old R. Kelly.
Oh, yeah. And R. Kelly.
Yep.
That's a good one. That's a double. That's a double for the music industry.
Yeah, that was so dark when after he got charged for the diddling up there in his initial charges, because it was they just started shipping him around to different courts, the federal district court in Georgia after Chicago, then New York. So the first one in Chicago after his first charges, some lady who owned a daycare bailed him out of jail on his charges. She posted bond for him like $100K, and then they went to that rock and roll McDonald's, which was one of the McDonald's that was listed as one of the places he would go diddle kids at. So I'm like, this dude is out of his fucking mind. He just post bond by some lady who owns a daycare and then goes right into, one of the places listed in the court documents as far as the places where he stalked his victims. I'm like, this dude's out of his mind. That dude, that's what I'm saying. That's a very dark subject. I think that got swept under the rug, Epstein style as well, right?
Well, he also had like just women locked up in his house. Like he had multiple properties.
Yes.
He had multiple women just locked up in his house.
Yep.
So did Epstein there, right? With Maria Farmer and her sister, and that's probably one example of it. But
that's the thing, though, is like it seems like R. Kelly was more like for himself, and I think that Jeffrey Epstein was for himself and for other people. So he was trafficking them to other people, but R. Kelly was just he like wanted all of them to himself. Like it was just all for him.
Yeah, he wanted to piss on every one of them ladies and not let anyone else do it.
Oh, gee.
Did you see the R. Kelly video from when he went to Africa and he's saying, "Everybody get on the planes, we'll take care of you," and he's singing this to the women as he's got this line of African women that he's just funneling into his back room. It's insane.
Dude, where did they go? Right? That's dark.
Yeah.
I do have a question about Virginia. So at what point does she start like blowing the lid off of shit? Like, was it after she met her husband, or like a little bit before that, or when did she start being like, this happened to me?
it was 2015 whenever she initially started coming out, and whenever she did, people like kind of didn't necessarily believe. I mean, there's that whole what is her name, Kelly Roebuck or whatever for NBC, that had the entire story on her, that basically had her come out of the woodwork and like expose this entire thing. And then they made her pass on the entire story, and then she was on a hot mic on Project Veritas. Project Veritas got a hold of the video. Actually, I might have the video here somewhere here, but she's
Yeah, the
basically
ABC lady, right?
ABC. Sorry,
she worked. Well, it's interesting because ABC's owned by Disney, and Epstein was in deep with that former senator from Maine who was the chairman of the board for Disney. Was one of the characters there in his book.
Yeah, and she basically had the entire story, and I think this is it right here. This is the one here, Nick. Where she goes into detail about
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this
Amy Roebuck, sorry, not Kelly Roebuck, Amy Roebuck.
interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago.
And then she was fired immediately after that came out.
But it's all true.
Yep.
What date was that she got fired on?
They squashed it because they, just like she explained, they used the excuse that no one knows who Jeffrey Epstein is. So we can't do this story. No one knows anything about it. And then 3 years later, it all comes out, and then he gets back on trial, and then he's in prison, and then he kills himself, and then the whole thing blows up. And then she's pissed because they had the story 3 years prior to all that happening. And then they captured on the hot mic. Oh, well, we had Clinton, we had like all these people. She's got photos, she's got proof, which is another reason to essentially take her out, right? If you don't want your person saying anything else, don't want anybody else implicated in this entire thing, right?
I just realized something.
For sure. And again, if you look at the power structure, go ahead, Atlas. Go ahead.
What if the reason that they're not releasing these files now and they're not talking about it anymore and they're just completely letting it go is because they've got like 5 or 6 other operations going simultaneously, and they don't want to have to stop those other operations because they're currently doing it, doing a cover up here.
It's a domino effect, right? So you got to clean up you got to get a cleanup crew on aisle 6, clean up a bunch of fuck ups, and then they fuck up the fuck ups, and then it's just a downhill trend of fucking up. I would argue a lot of parapolitical things that we know about publicly are really just a result of trying to cover up that whole thing. The whole Bay of Pigs thing, as Tricky Dick said in the Watergate tapes.
But didn't Virginia have pictures with like Trump and
Prince Andrew?
Prince Andrew, and then like there was another, like a bunch of other people who came out and said that they were at the Epstein thing, and it was almost like Trump had gotten to them first, and they verified everything else but that he was there. Like Virginia was the only one that was like, no, dude, he was definitely all up in that bitch. And all the other witnesses were like, no, he wasn't. We never saw him there. but I want to say Virginia had, I think, pictures of him on the plane and stuff.
I'm not aware of those, but it would make sense that if she would have photo, because she worked at Mar-a-Lago, so she would definitely have photos with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, her and her dad. So, but I'd have to look into that more to see if like there's, because I don't think that Trump was ever on the, I don't think that he was on the client list at all from what we know. Unless I'm you trying to defend him, I just don't believe that he was ever on.
No,
the client.
you're right. I've looked long and hard down that, Ryder. You are correct, sir.
Well, I don't think there's any coincidence that after he gets elected, that's when they decide to bump her off. I think that's pretty obvious what was going on.
Well, is that what? I'm glad you brought up that point. So, what date did Amy Rohrbach get fired? Because I think these dates are important chronologically speaking, and there's a lot of stuff going on with Virginia Giuffre and old Alan Dershowitz and David Boies, who's the Clinton, black bag man who represented Theranos, if you know that, fake blood company lady. And that was just a big money laundering operation. That was a $9 billion money laundering operation or whatever it was. So that's all. So that's all kind of really connected, but to David Boies. But and then these are all happening around the time in 2019, right? A lot of these things are popping off. But Virginia Giuffre,
that was the end of 2018, I think, is when she got fired, or early 2019.
Because Virginia, so I think it's 2019 is very important with these matters because Virginia Giuffre sues Alan Dershowitz, or was it vice versa? Dershowitz sues Giuffre?
No, Giuffre sues Alan Dershowitz, and then she later drops the charges, which I think that the reason that she dropped the charges is because Prince Andrew paid out the money. He settled out of court, and then she's like, okay, well, he's given me upwards of $12 million. I'm just going to drop all these other ones. Like, this is good enough for me. This is good enough reparations for me. But some people think that by her dropping the charges against Alan Dershowitz, that is her admitting that she's a liar and that she made it up. That's what Lady Veronica Hart interview.
You're roboting.
That means that she's a liar, and that means that she was making up all the allegations against Alan Dershowitz.
Because she settled out of court? Or because...
Well, really know why she dropped the reason she charges because big undisclosed amount of money from Prince Andrew out of court. Prince Andrew did settle out of court with her.
Yeah, your whole thing went like robot for like pretty much the whole last minute. Sorry to have to make you like kind of repeat all that.
Yeah, sorry to make you repeat yourself. I just didn't. It was all like glitched out for a second, and I didn't catch the front of
They're trying to get us. They're getting us.
Yeah. The flying out was just like really bad for a split second. It was yeah. All right, sorry.
What was the last thing that you heard? I'm sorry.
I guess just answer her question again.
The only part that I heard is she got an undisclosed amount of money from Prince Andrew. The rest was kind of like glitched out.
Okay, so that was my personal opinion. Is the reason that she dropped the charges was because she was already getting that money from Prince Andrew. There's nothing verifying that. I don't have any evidence supporting that, but people say that the reason that she dropped the charges is because she was making it up and because she was lying about Alan Dershowitz. So she dropped the charges against Alan Dershowitz, in my opinion, because she was settled out of court with Prince Andrew, and Prince Andrew was giving her upwards of $12 million. So she was like, okay, let's drop all this other stuff that I'm doing. This is good enough reparations for me. But people have taken that and saying, oh, well, that makes her a liar because she didn't go through with the charges against Alan Dershowitz.
Well, can I be honest with you?
If I may add a point on that, just, American jurisprudence wise, it was one of the most bizarre cases and settlements that I've ever seen. In a civil case, they were able to seal criminal evidence that can be shielded by any future criminal proceedings. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it was bizarre. And again, it was a deal made by Dershowitz and David Boies. And why she would hire David Boies is beyond me. And that's when you say she never left this networking system and she was a victim all her life. I believe it because, again, I don't know anyone in their right mind who would hire David Boies in that situation unless it was a black bag operation. And again, when we're talking about all these dates, I just one more point, Julie, I might just make before we get past that ABC situation. It was the chairman of the board for Disney, George Mitchell, former U.S. senator from Maine, who was named in unsealed documents in that Giuffre case. I believe it was a day before Epstein died. So, when we're talking about ABC and why they didn't run stuff, a powerful chairman of the board who's still alive today, former U.S. senator, was named in that book. And again, unsealed in documents the day before Epstein did not kill himself. And again, is probably still alive, but
Very likely.
I think he's still alive, but I was just going to say, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think it's fair that anyone would say, well, she must be lying. She must not be telling the truth about it because she accepted like X million. I mean, I would.
no,
how are you gonna fucking sit here and oh, she took $12 million, so she must be lying about the whole thing. If somebody showed up to my door tomorrow with 12 mil, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I think I'll ride on this. Honestly, it doesn't mean that she's lying. I mean, I don't know. 12 million can get you to see life differently,
Well, also, it could be something to do with the deal as well. Like, okay, Prince Andrew is going to pay you out an X amount of money, but you also have to drop any of the other cases that you have against anybody else. We don't know. I mean, that's
right. We don't know. That's the point.
The types of deals that those backroom court deals that kind of go on is like, we'll guarantee you this thing, then you got to do this, and this, right? It's essentially like a plea deal, but she's not really pleading because she's the one that's suing these people. So we don't really know the thing because a lot of it's all been sealed, just like JJ was talking about. It's all the incriminating evidence has all been sealed. We don't really know what was going on in the courtroom. I mean, we didn't really know what was going on in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. That whole thing was completely sealed. There wasn't any reporters that was really allowed in there. There wasn't any photographs taken. It was all sketches. Like all they could do was have a freaking artist in there sketching what she looked like. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and I'm not an artist. But they have the sketchiest sketch artist there in the Southern District of New York. Did you see Sam Bankman-Fried's drawings? They made him look like some sort of like model or something, and they made his girlfriend look way more like a troll than she looks like.
Yeah, there's a video here of Virginia talking about how Ghislaine is even more powerful than Epstein is.
Saying that she has videos, or she has knowledge of videos that exist about people. People like who? People well-known names?
Very well-known names. The government officials, the politicians, the royalty. They were taping everybody every moment when you walked into the New York mansion, to Palm Beach. Everything was being filmed.
Do you think people knew they were being taped?
No.
No.
I do not. Not at all.
Giuffre alleges Maxwell and Epstein were blackmailing the wealthy and the powerful.
Yeah, so that's her saying that the whole thing is like that Ghislaine is even more powerful because she has access to all these tapes as well, like after Epstein is supposedly dead. So then they just black out that entire trial. They're like, no one is like, we're going to seal all this stuff. We can't really know what was said in here. But one of my friends from the Rundown Live podcast was actually there and then got all the transcripts. So I'm waiting for him to send me all of the Ghislaine Maxwell transcripts, and then I'm going to go over it on my show.
Oh,
that would be amazing. But so was Virginia the first one to say like that Prince Andrew was all up in the Epstein stuff and like she was she like the first one to say that?
Yes, she was
Okay.
the first one to come out against Prince Andrew. Yes.
And she said like he was a sweaty, disgusting, like gross motherfucker. And then like they interviewed him and he was like, actually, I can't sweat at all. As
Yeah.
he's profusely sweating. Yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
and then Alan Dershowitz did an interview. I think it was with British UK 60 Minutes, doing cover on all this stuff, trying to say Prince Andrew was not a diddler. And in the background of that, in his Boston penthouse apartment there near Harvard, Dershowitz has on a couch in the background the entire interview an old lady sex doll. In an interview, he's trying to
showed the
convince
picture
folks.
before. He has showed the picture before. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. In an interview, he's trying to convince folks. Yeah, Nick's seen it. You know what I'm talking about, Nick.
Yeah.
It's the creepiest thing ever. Like, what are you
It's a sex
doing,
doll.
dude? You're trying to convince folks that he's not a diddler and Epstein's a good guy, and you're not a creepster, and you got an old lady sex doll in the background.
It is bizarre.
What?
It's like they ran on the couch. It's just
God.
like,
Yeah,
A geriatric sex doll.
yeah, it's I think even
Yeah.
clothes on it and everything. I can't remember. It's obvious. It's like,
super creepy. Super creepy.
it looks
Are you
like
guys ready? Hold on. Are you guys ready to have your freaking mind blown by by this video that David Oates did yesterday on Virginia Giuffre? Well, on Prince Andrew on the reverse speech. This is freaking insane. Listen to this bad boy. This is from the BBC interview that we're talking about with whenever he came out and gave that big BBC interview that basically exposed him and made everyone be like, what the fuck is going on with you? You're a lying sack of shit. But I haven't released this yet on my channel, so you guys are getting an exclusive. You're getting an exclusive, but the full video is out. The full video was yesterday. It's Virginia Giuffre reverse speech, but this is just a clip from that long format interview.
awesome. I'll pull it up now.
On the royal family.
Yes, I got lots on them. This is Prince Andrew on his famous BBC interview being asked about the photo, okay?
Nobody can prove whether or not that photograph has been doctored, but I don't recollect that photograph ever being taken.
It is Jeff had to get murdered.
Jeff admitted murder.
Jeff admitted murder. Jeff admitted murder.
You see how the lips all match up on that, so that's pretty weird. It tells me two things. A, Prince Andrew was aware that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, not suicided. B, it's almost like an order. This must happen. Jeff had to get murdered. So, in my mind, this reversal is Andrew confessing to knowing Jeff Epstein was murdered, and he may have even been the person who gave the order.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. Okay, Ryder. So you think that Jeff is dead then?
Well, I mean, according to this reversal, I mean, if you believe
That is creepy, right?
If you believe in reverse speech, I mean, and it seems to be pretty solid because I'd had David Oates on a few times in the past, but he never showed the video, right? It was all just audio, and I didn't know that there were video of doing these reverse speech things too. And then he just randomly throws up a video yesterday on my show, and I'm like, holy shit, this is like because the mouth moves with the words that's being said. And whenever I drop that in the AI, because I make all of my clips and I have to do the AI captions, right? The AI captions did not mess up any of the words that was in there. It didn't mispronounce any of the words. It said Jeff had to get murdered.
That is so fucked up.
That is like really fascinating to me. So what are we looking at here? A geriatric sex doll?
Yeah, that's Alan Dershowitz's old lady sex doll that he had on display.
So he had this in the back of an interview.
Yeah, so this is his living room, and I obviously cut, this is cropped it out. I got to find the original images I made of this screenshot, but this was the interview, and he's sitting at his table. Well, he's done a number of interviews at the same table in his kind of dining room area there to this penthouse apartment he's got in Boston. or in Cambridge area there near Harvard. But yeah, this is in the background. I mean,
JJ,
what
I'm
is
sorry.
going on in life?
You cannot explain this and make it make sense in
You
any
can't.
other way that's what it is. Like if you asked him, it's
You
like,
mean
what
to
the
tell
fuck
me
is
our nation's most esteemed constitutional scholar has an old lady sex doll in the background of an interview where he's trying to tell folks Prince Andrew's not a creepster? You got to be kidding me, Julia.
JJ, like what would be his possible explanation for having this? He goes over to it and plays fucking patty cake. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck
this is it's not a sex doll, it's his tea time doll. They have tea time together.
Tea time.
Come on. These guys are super creeps. I
Wow.
mean,
Yeah.
these guys are disgusting, man.
Now,
That's
Alan
what
only got a massage with a shirt on, and it was by an adult. It only happened one time. His wife was there.
This is what interests me about Virginia, because I feel like, you know, I seen some pictures of her with like bruises all over her face and stuff, and it's like she wasn't necessarily at a hospital, so it's like what happened to her? And like, I don't want to jump the gun or anything, Ryder, but I mean, she is now deceased, right?
We're gonna get into that. That is a whole rabbit hole there, Julia. Yeah, that's a whole thing because okay, so she was involved in supposedly in a bus accident, right? And this is what actually got me looking into the case from the very beginning, was because I was under the impression that she had died in the bus accident. Several people had reached out to me and was like, "Oh, did you see that Virginia Giuffre died in a bus accident? The bus was going like 80 miles an hour, it hit her, and then she died." And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, maybe that's just, a coincidence, right? I mean, people get into accidents all the time. Things just happen. Maybe she just happened to be, this person that's accusing Prince Andrew, and Prince Andrew settled out of court with her, and then she just happened to die in this bus accident. I didn't even look into it. And then on the 25th of last month, it came out that she had committed suicide. Then I'm like, what is going on here? This is really strange, because I thought that she died. And I remember people literally tagging me in things saying that she died. And several people had sent me emails and personal messages saying that Virginia Giuffre had died. And I still have all the messages that Virginia had died in the bus accident. So I'm like, what's going on here? So then whenever I go back, that's why I titled the series of my show Virginia Giuffre Mandela Effect. And so then I go back and I started researching and looking into this bus accident. Okay, because something wasn't adding up with me. How does she be involved in this bus accident and then she comes out like looking like she had just been beaten the shit out of? Like her right temple is like all beat up. She leaves this message: "This year has been the worst start to the new year, but I won't bore anyone with the details. I think it's important to know that when a school bus driver comes at you driving at roughly 60 miles per hour as we're slowing to turn, it doesn't matter what your car is made out of. It's basically a tin can. I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm going to go, just not until I see my babies one last time. But you know what they say." So I was like, okay, well, how does this happen? Then I started looking into the bus accident. Okay. And there's a lot of discrepancies with the bus accident. I actually have the video from the police down here in the bottom. It's Virginia Giuffre crash. And this is from the Australian police giving their account of what happened with the bus accident. And on all accounts, the bus accident was a minor accident. Okay. It was so minor that the police didn't even show up. There wasn't a police report.
Stop it.
Yeah, let's listen to the video here. It's at the bottom of the thing.
Is that the one with the police standing there, I guess?
That's the one. Yeah.
to have disputed a claim made by Prince Andrew's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, that she was involved in a serious crash which has left her with just days to live. The 41-year-old, who previously alleged that the Duke of York had sexually assaulted her when she was a teenager, wrote on Instagram yesterday that her car had collided with a school bus. Well, Ellie Pitt is here. There are some conflicting details in this, aren't there?
Yes, it's a bit confusing, Mary, because in her post online, Virginia Giuffre said that she's gone into kidney renal failure and is being transferred to a specialist urology hospital. And she's posted a photo where she appears to be in a hospital bed and has quite severe bruising to her face. She goes on to say that she has 4 days to live after a crash with the school bus near to her home in Perth in Australia. Now, Western Australia Police explained they know of a minor crash between a school bus and a car that was reported by the bus driver the following day, but there were no reported injuries to them as a result of the crash. Here's what the officers have said.
I do know there was an accident on the 24th of March. It was a bus with another vehicle.
And was there any passengers on the bus at the time? Are you aware?
I'm not aware of passengers on the bus, but certainly the bus driver reported it as he was required to do and in the right timeframes. And I'm advised there was about $2,000 damage in the vehicle, not aware of any injuries.
Now, separately, a spokesperson for the East Metropolitan Health Service has told Australian media that Ms Giuffre is not at any of their facilities. Virginia Giuffre sued Prince Andrew with allegations of sexually assaulting her when she was 17 years old. She claimed to have been trafficked by convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who was a friend of the Duke of York. Now, Prince Andrew has always denied the allegations of sexual assault, and he did settle the case out of court, with the Prince paying Ms Giuffre an undisclosed sum.
OK, Ellie Pitt, thank you.
Okay,
What
so
the fuck?
the police say that the accident was very minor. There was no injuries. There was nobody on the bus. Okay, so something's not adding up. How do you get in a bus accident and then 6 days later you end up in the hospital and you look like this right here? It doesn't make any sense. And
Whoa.
Well,
So this picture was 6 days after the accident.
yes, the
And
accident
none of
happened
the
on the 24th.
hospitals.
Accident was on the 24th. 6 days later, she shows up in the hospital on the 30th. That's when this photo was posted on Instagram, was on the 30th. So
But none of the hospitals said that she was there.
I'm saying
Isn't
that this is when the photo was posted, was 6 days later on Instagram. We don't exactly know when she showed up to the hospital, but I'm guessing that it was after, because all this stuff with the bus is, this is Ross Munns. Bus driver disputes Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre's collision claims blown out of proportion. The bus driver who allegedly hit Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre said that the mom of the three was completely exaggerating when she just suggested that the accident nearly killed her. Okay, so Ross Munns, this guy, claims that Virginia wasn't even in the vehicle whenever he hit them. He didn't even see her in the vehicle. It was an elderly lady that he hit in the vehicle. And he didn't even know that there was another passenger in the car until the day after, whenever he reported it. The police didn't show up to the accident. This guy right here, Ross Munns, didn't notify the police until a day after the accident. He said that it was all that he didn't even see Virginia inside the vehicle. Munn maintains that he never actually saw Giuffre inside of the vehicle. And the only other interaction with the driver entailed checking on her condition and warning her to put her signals on when making a turn. That's all the conversation was, and she asked how the kids on the bus. Now, this is saying that there was kids on the bus. Okay, we just heard the police say that they didn't have any passengers on the bus.
And I could have swore they said in that report that none of the local hospitals said that she was even at the hospital. So
exactly.
It's like,
she didn't show up until 6 days. When we're assuming that she didn't show up until 6 days later when she posted the Instagram post.
Do we know that she posted that though? Because it almost looks like somebody took a picture of her and then did the post, wrote all that stuff, and it's like we don't even know that she actually even made that post.
I actually
'Cause
find that post, in my opinion, actually extremely weird. I
Right,
find
like,
it to,
was she even the author of that post, dude? Like,
yeah, like I'm just gonna be honest. Like my opinion. Listen, some people either they don't care, you want attention anyway. I just feel that that picture is not the best. I just don't see why a woman would want to be posting that. Like, pretty much. I just, as a sex victim, I would think. I don't know. It's like you got half your tit hanging out with a fucking EKG thing on it, and if you weren't there that day, what the fuck is the EKG even thing on there for? What, to look like a nipple to catch your attention?
right.
Like, I just feel like this whole fucking picture is just off.
Okay, what's the timeline between that picture being posted and then her being pronounced dead or whatever?
That picture was posted on the 30th, and then she was supposedly committed suicide on the 25th.
So like a month later?
Yeah, around 25 days. I'm not sure if there was a 31st day in March or not, but if it wasn't, then it would be 25 days later.
So could we assume, was there any like hoopla around her death? Was there any autopsy photographs, anything like that? Any like, do we know, is there anything postmarked that she arrived at the morgue around that time, or are we just taking it like
They're saying that they're not going to do an autopsy for 2 years.
Okay, well that's weird. I think maybe the picture we saw that was posted on the 30th, she may have already been dead.
I don't think that that's the case because there's photos of her leaving the hospital. whenever she
Okay.
left.
I would like to see, just for my own
This
curiosity.
is her leaving the hospital. She left out the back of the hospital, and this is her brother, right? Well, her half brother, Daniel Wilson, that's driving the vehicle, and she's in the passenger seat because Australia, the driver's side is on the opposite side of the car. So these are pictures of her leaving the back of the hospital, trying to avoid paparazzi. I think
So
it's
we
when
know,
she left. She was spotted in public for the first time 2 days after she was discharged from the Perth hospital.
Perth hospital.
Let me see when she actually. I think that this article says when she got released.
Has anybody run that beaten up image through the AI detector?
Okay, Giuffre pulled into a feed store near the Royal Retreat in North Perth in a blue Chevrolet Silverado, being driven by a bearded man around 4:30 p.m. Wednesday local time. Yeah, this was these photos were taken after she had left the hospital, because that's been a contention with a lot of people as well. They're like, "Oh, well, she's dead in the photo," but I don't believe that that's the case, because here she is after she's left the hospital, alive and well.
So, all right, at least we can say we know she probably left the hospital. I'm having a hard time with the bruised, beat up picture and the
Yeah,
conflicting information about the bus crash and her not even being there. I just it's not mathing for me. It's
I
not,
mean,
nothing adds up.
I mean,
No
as a
math,
woman,
no math.
I'd like to ask you, but I mean, I guess you haven't been in this situation. But do you think, like, after something like that happened to you, Julia, you'd be thinking about posting a picture that looks just like that? I
Fuck
just
to the no.
I just don't get that. I mean, I
I
understand
wouldn't even be posting anything,
you want to be
period.
famous now too, but come on.
Like, dude,
It's
I
very
would be
provocative,
lucky.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
It is.
I just find it fucking weird.
If you're laying there like that, I would be lucky if I even like called my sister and told her what happened. You know, it's like I'm lying there. They just told me I have 4 days to live. I look like that. The last thing on my mind is making like I might call loved ones and be like, "Hey, I got really fucked up in a car accident and they're saying I'm going to die soon." The last thing on my mind would be posting something like that on Instagram or wherever the fuck, but to me it looks like she didn't take the photo. I don't even know if she wrote the caption on the photo, to be honest with you, like who knows. But I mean, let's just say we know she left the hospital because she's got her middle finger up. She's like, fuck you, I'm going home, whatever. We
Hey,
still
Ryder.
don't know what happened to her, but
Ryder, can you see the make and model of the car and the reflection in her sunglasses?
Oh,
That looks like a white. Kind of looks like a No, it's not a limo. It's like a white vehicle, like right here in her
Maybe a
sunglasses.
Crown Vic?
It could be. I couldn't make a accurate depiction on exactly what the car model is, but that seems to be where the photo is being taken from, is the car. But
Right.
this is going to make a lot more sense whenever I read this next article. It's all going to come
Let's do it.
together for you guys.
Let's do it.
Okay, so from the trying to make sense of the car crash, why are all these discrepancies of the car crash during this period of time whenever she was supposedly in the hospital? You also had Prince Andrew's ex-girlfriend making comments on Instagram about how this is karma for making up lies against Prince Andrew. This is from the Newsweek article. Prince Andrew's former girlfriend, Lady Victoria Harvey, sparked fury by reacting to Virginia Giuffre's suicide, but she also did one on the bus accident as well, where she posted all these stories on Instagram saying that this is what you get for making up lies against my ex lover, Prince Andrew. It's completely ridiculous.
wow.
Yeah, so she got into some heat there, and she's also, Pierce Morgan kind of confronts her in the interview that we showed that I have in the bottom here. But in order to figure out exactly what's going on here with the bus crash, I was like, okay, it's not adding up. It's not making any sense. How did the bus crash happen on the 24th? And then it's 6 days later on the 30th that she posted the photo. If she had these kinds of injuries beforehand, and why didn't she go to the hospital immediately? You would think that if you look like that after a bus crash, you would immediately go to the hospital. Okay, especially when she says that she has kidney renal failure. Okay, I'm like, why didn't she go to the hospital immediately if these injuries came from the bus crash? And then I'm looking at these injuries more, and I'm like, this doesn't look like it came from a bus crash. This looks like she was held down and repeatedly beaten in the side of the face.
Oh yeah.
Like someone held her down by her neck and just was striking her with their right hand in the side of the face. And then I'm like, okay, can I find any articles? Did she say anything about, domestic violence? Did she make any comments about her husband potentially beating her? And it turns out that there is. This People magazine article right here basically lays out the entire story. Virginia Giuffre alleges that husband has physically abused her for years. I can no longer stay silent. This is the exclusive to People magazine, right? As controversy swirls about the cryptic Instagram message, Jeffrey Epstein's victim, Virginia Giuffre, recently posted a photo of her deteriorating health following a car crash in Australia. She is now coming forward with allegations of abuse against her husband of 22 years, Robert Giuffre. In an exclusive statement to People, Virginia said, I was able to fight back against Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, who abused and trafficked me, but I was unable to escape the domestic violence in my marriage until recently. After my husband's latest physical assault, I can no longer stay silent. Now, what physical assault is she referring to? It has to be when she's in the hospital and she's blaming the bus accident for her injuries, but it really wasn't the bus accident that caused her injuries. It was her husband beating her. And she went to the hospital to blame her husband beating her on the bus accident. Okay. You kind of got to put two and two together there, but she basically says that in this statement to people that in a roundabout way that the bus accident wasn't what caused her injuries. It was the latest physical assault from her husband. Okay, and then you go down here a little bit. She ended the statement by saying again, I thank everyone for their support. I have faith and justice will prevail. This statement to People magazine happened less than a week after Virginia posted that photo on Instagram on Sunday, March 30th. Okay, so this was less than a week after she had posted the Instagram. She was already out of the hospital and she gave this exclusive statement to People magazine. So this wasn't before, this was after. Okay, then you scroll down here a little bit. A spokesperson for Virginia confirms that Virginia reported on January 9th, 2025, an assault in Western Australia to police who did not charge Robert for any crime. People has been unable to obtain the incident report. Robert did not respond to people's multiple calls and texts for comment. Okay, so there's another incident where her husband beat her to an inch of her life. Okay. During a trip to one of the children's birthdays in January, so this is January of 2025, earlier in the year, Robert allegedly beat Virginia so severely that she was left with a crooked septum and a perforated eye, among other injuries, they say. She was transported to the hospital for her injuries, her spokeswoman said. Okay, so this was earlier in the year. Her husband beat the shit out of her. She went to the hospital, filed a police report, and from the description, a crooked septum and a perforated eye, among other injuries, would be what she kind of would look like back in the earlier in the year as she looks in this photo.
But do we even know that she was at the scene of the fucking bus crash?
We don't. That's the thing. Is she reportedly was in the back seat, but the bus driver says that he didn't even see her in the vehicle.
I don't understand why the cops weren't there.
You would think
Because
if
the bus
$2,000 worth of damage, the cops would show up, right? But I think the Australian laws are different. I think that if it's if there's no injuries in the crash, then it's not required to be reported, which then just throws in like you can just do a bunch of insurance fraud on that. I don't know why that's even a legal thing.
Right. It seems like the pretty kind of wild situation there, but yeah, I mean, it would be, it just seems like they're, in this individual kind of aspect of lack of documentation around these claims and circumstances, it seems like that's a kind of a going trend of Virginia's last, few months of her life there, right? A lot of, these incidents, there's not a lot of documentation of what's really going on versus the claims that they're being made. Be it the bus crash or, this, when you make these points about her husband, I think that's, I don't know how that dude's just walking around like he's got no
That's
problem.
what I'm saying. How can a woman end up at the hospital looking like that and nothing happened to the husband?
Right. I don't know what goes on in the laws in Australia, but yeah, I mean, these seems
Well,
like these things are just kind of getting ignored, right?
Well, this is what happened is that whenever he beat her earlier in the year in January of 2025, and she went to the hospital and then went to file a police report of the beating, Robert Giuffre, her husband, then filed a family violence restraining order against her. Okay. He flipped the script on her, turned it against her.
Plot thickens.
Like a psychopathic narcissist woman beater would do. They try and flip it on you, right? And he alleged that she had become violent with him. Okay, so he had this family restraining order against her. He took the kids. He's already built his entire defense. He built his defense from the jump earlier in the year. Okay, so he has the restraining order. So even if she were to go to the police and be like, okay, my husband just beat the shit out of me, It's not going to matter. He's the one that has the restraining order against her, and he's the one that has the kids. And that's how he got the kids, was through this family violence restraining order. That's how he got the kids taken away from her in the first place. So if anything were to happen to her, let's say she dies, commits suicide, no one is ever going to look at him. He is not going to be the suspect because he has the restraining order and he's had the kids for this entire time.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
But do you think her husband's tied up in some stuff?
Yeah, I wonder about
I would guess so, yeah. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. He would have, I mean, I can't say 100%, but I would imagine, yes. I would imagine that he is.
Do you think she was about to like open up another can of worms or something, and this is why this had to happen? I mean, it just seems so far removed from the first time she came out with the allegations. I mean, what, this is like over 10 years later, right? Or
Okay, so this is Sky Roberts right here. This is her brother, her biological brother, and his wife. They exclusively tell people Virginia's brother Sky Roberts and wife Amanda, both 36, say Virginia, who lives in Australia, is making the allegations now because of the severity of her injuries. And Sky says here, I think that the last incident that they had, she almost died. Okay, so they're referring to the January 9th beating where she went to the police, filed a report, went to the hospital, and then he responded by filing a family restraining order first. She's saying that we had to speak about that truth with her on the phone, and I think that she had acknowledged that if she had one more incident with him, she wasn't making it out of there.
reminds me of OJ and Nicole Simpson.
Orenthal James Simpson,
Yeah, I know you think he didn't
the
do
Hertz
it, but
rental
I
car
do.
guy, the Hertz rental car guy.
Hurts. It hurts.
No, OJ's definitely innocent. OJ did not do it.
JJ, you make my butthole pucker every time you
Yo,
say
what
that.
the fuck?
Oh,
You
man.
know, and I know that he fucking did that shit.
I've previously been known to have that effect on a lot of folks in and around the politics in Washington, D.C., but it's an unfortunate effect I've presented to you there, Julia, but I do have to stand by my assertion that Alan Dershowitz is a creepster and Orenthal J. Simpson did not do it.
All right. Well, I need some further elaboration on that in a future episode. But this does remind me of that. It's like my husband keeps beating me. She's telling all of her friends and family, like, the next time he does it, I'm gonna die. If anything happens to me, he did it. And then it's like she actually ends up dead. I mean, come on. What's going on?
Can I add some more mystery to all of these matters we were talking about before, the generational, thing that she was born into here? And I had no idea, Ryder, that her mother was a Cabell. You saw me light up because the Cabells are one of the blue blood families of Virginia. So I did some quick family tree there over, and her fourth great grandfather was the governor of Virginia, infamous William Cabell. And then he was a member of the Society of Cincinnati, as was his father. So it appears Virginia's her mother's brother, right? Her uncle is a member of the Virginia chapter of the Society of Cincinnati.
Wow, that's super interesting. That's wild.
Here's another one for you. So if you're familiar with a fellow by the name of Robert Mueller III, old Bob, former FBI director, bagman, and U.S. attorney who let Isaac Asimov Jr. Off with no charges out there in the San Francisco Bay Area in the 90s after the infamous son of the rocket scientist, or the technical advisor to NASA and sci-fi writer, Isaac Asimov. His son got busted with the largest child pornography stash in American history at the time. So Robert Mueller said, you don't need to go to jail as a U.S. attorney. That was his decision. So, or at least it's not, he facilitated that aspect of it. But Bob Mueller's wife is as a Cabell. In fact, she's fourth cousins with Virginia Giuffre's mother, Cabell. They're fourth cousins, Cabell.
So I think Virginia's mom, Lynn Cabell. Where did you say that these people were out of? Virginia?
Virginia, yeah. She hails from Richmond, Virginia.
Oh my God! And then they named their daughter Virginia.
Yeah. What a creepy environment. You say the Cabells are infamous. That same family, cousins of these two women, Bob Mueller's wife and Virginia Giuffre's mother's, both Cabell women there. Cousins of them was General Charles Cabell, the deputy director of the CIA that JFK infamously fired over that whole, like I said earlier, that whole Bay of Pigs situation that Ricky Dick was talking about. And his brother, Earl Cabell, was the mayor of Dallas who changed the I'm telling this to Ryder as if Ryder doesn't already know these things, but as far as the context for the folks of the interwebs and the Cabell family is Earl Cabell was the mayor of Dallas that day and changed the route, didn't he, Ryder?
The route of the motorcade, yeah.
Yes, sir. I really enjoyed your old JFKX documentary, and that was the first. I think that was the first conversation we had on here with Ryder, right, Nick, on the Cult Rejects.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That was
that was a good one.
That's the Cabell family. They're deep, right? They run deep in American parapolitics.
That's so strange. Seems like all these huge events, they're sort of playing a role right in the background.
Well, that's what I always say, Headless. If you look at any quote unquote conspiracy theory in American parapolitics throughout its history, all roads lead back to the Society of the Cincinnati.
Okay, to finish up this People magazine article. So Sky and Amanda note that they don't know whether Virginia's medical issues were caused by the crash or complications from a recent beating she allegedly suffered at the hands of her husband, or a combination of the two. Let's be clear, she never stated in the bus accident the cause of all her other injuries, says Sky. So right here, this People magazine article is literally telling you everything you need to know. It lines up all the circumstantial evidence, which is all that is needed for an investigation on Virginia Giuffre's husband, Robert Giuffre, the proven domestic violence, woman beating, narcissistic asshole that needs to be investigated for her death. There needs to be an investigation on Robert Giuffre. I mean, that's if he didn't actually kill her, then I'm confident that he was somehow involved in some kind of way. And there needs to be a giant investigation opened up on him. Virginia's lawyer has mentioned that that she cast doubt on whether she committed suicide or not. Her dad also saying that she would never, that she didn't commit suicide. Well, then you have the whole thing that she posted on X, well, formerly Twitter, on X. I'm making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I've made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me in the state of my family, do not let this go away. Help me protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. Now, this was from 2019, and some people have been like, oh, well, that's too long of amount of the time for her saying that until supposedly from her committing suicide. Like, there's no fucking statute of limitations on saying that you would never kill yourself. Okay.
Like, what is she supposed to do? Post it every day? Just so you know? Like, what the fuck?
Doesn't count after 2 years.
Yeah, it's
right. It's expired.
Stupid. Like, if you make a statement like this, it doesn't matter how long ago you made it. You're making the statement in confidence that you would never kill yourself. If any of you guys were to say this or were to ever have posted this, and then, I don't know, even 20 years later, one of you guys, it's reported that one of you all committed suicide. I'd be like, what the fuck? No.
100.
Beat the shit out of
Right.
this.
It doesn't require daily vlog updates, right? The anti-suicide
Right.
campaign daily vlog update.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's even still so recent that I would say this is relevant. Like 2019 is not like fucking 15 years ago. I
Yeah,
mean,
she doesn't need to do Instagram stories every morning. Hey, y'all, I'm not going to off myself.
Yeah.
We need to make that the new greeting. I'm not suicidal. I'm not
Right.
suicidal.
Greetings. Yeah,
I'm not
greetings.
suicidal. Yeah. So, Ryder, you think her husband has something to do with this? I'm gathering. I clearly would agree with you because I don't think the bus story or any of that is adding up. The only thing I would say, though, if we're taking it to a real conspiratorial place, is that the picture of the bruised face Virginia is hitting me wrong. It just looks like it's been edited. It looks like it's out of place in some way. Even the way her head, well, the way her head is laying on the pillow doesn't even look right to me. It looks like it's a picture of her like maybe laying sideways on the floor and they photoshopped her body out and then like put it in a hospital bed. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's not I mean, I feel like I could do better Photoshop than that picture, to be honest.
That's the thing, though. That's kind of like what they want you to kind of believe, because then that turns her into a liar. That's exactly what Lady Victoria Harvey is saying about the Epstein photo of her and Prince Andrew. She's trying to say that the photo was cropped, that they weren't really there. Okay, that they were cut out of the image because supposedly Harvey went to the exact house that the photo was taken, and she measured the doorway. Okay, she took a freaking tape measure and measured the doorway, and then had someone stand where Prince Andrew was standing, and then she's making the case that there isn't enough room between the banister and the edge of the door frame for 3 people to fit in there. So obviously it has to be photoshopped, right? They're trying to paint her out to be a liar, and anything that they can try and use against her is making her more of a liar. And that's the reason why they were trying to come after her for the bus accident story, is to try and paint her as a liar so that the allegations don't stick as much, because Prince Andrew is trying to get back into the royal family again, right? Because he's kind of been exiled. But if he can prove without a doubt that she's a liar and that she's making things up, and that the photo of them together with Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell is faked, then he's welcome back with open arms, right?
Right. And I mean, so that makes me think even more that she didn't even make the post under the picture, like about the bus and your car will turn into a tin can and I've got 4 days to live. And it's like you said, they're making her out to be such an extreme asshole to lie about this stuff and post pictures of her bruised face and do all this. And it's an assassination on her character, so that you don't believe anything she says. And then it's like her husband hurries up and files the report first and shit like that. So it's like, oh no, she's the abuser, not me, and I should get the kids. And it's just like a total attack on her character.
Well, I think what you're pointing out, Julia, to me, what you're pointing out is this. I mean, I've identified these things too, and from my perspective, that's what kind of the purpose she serves here in a certain regard, and maybe again, maybe not by choice, but by continuing to be victimized by this network that she was never able to depart and was born into. But because let's look at it this way: where's the other approximately 31 other victims from the 2007 Florida case? They were identified by the FBI, right? Interviewed. It was all in the case. I mean, a lot of that stuff is available through the Florida Sunshine Laws, through the state case. Not all the names, but the total number of victims and whatnot are listed in there. But that's where, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryder, that's where Virginia originates from, as far as we never hear Virginia's name before that case, right?
I believe that is correct. That's from 2015. When was that case?
The initial Florida case down there in Palm Beach.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I
So-
believe that's whenever her name was first brought up, but she didn't come out like publicly until 2015.
Yeah, right. So, like, what's your thoughts? Where are the rest of these other victims from that original case?
Well, I can tell you where two other of the victims are.
There you
Two
go.
other victims are dead as well. Okay,
Shut
so
the fuck up. They're all
Virginia,
dead.
Jeffrey Epstein case, Virginia Giuffre's death marks a third loss. Experts say predators need to be punished. This is a Fox News article. So two other victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Caroline Andriano, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell during her sex trafficking trial, died May 23rd, 2023 after an accidental drug overdose in a West Palm Beach, Florida hotel room. Okay, so that's another one.
Accidental.
Leah Sky Patrick, the age of 29, died after a drug overdose in West Palm Beach, Florida in 2017. The police add that the overdose was accidental. Okay.
Yeah,
So
same hotel room and everything. These bitches are just showing up there and just accidentally overdosing themselves. Come
Typical.
on, fuck off.
Was that the same hotel as that one gubernatorial candidate for the Democratic Party and his overdose down there?
It probably
Remember that
is.
one?
Yeah, I do remember that. I don't remember what name of the hotel room that was, but it doesn't give precise.
Andrew Gillum, I think was his name. Maybe he woke up next to meth powder or something like that, next to male hooker, and with some paramedics waking him up.
I think the drugs is even a good way to try to even just kind of blow off the whole thing. Oh, well, since they were sex trafficked and sex workers, they must have done drugs as well. So of course they would die that way.
They were crackheads. What are you talking about? Of course they did this. But I mean, all three of them are dead, right? Like, what? There are no coincidences when it comes to this kind of stuff, you guys. Like, you are not going to convince me that these are just random acts of like accidental drug overdoses and weird. I got hit by a bus. Just kidding. No, I didn't. Showing up suicide. Come on.
For sure. Well, that's what I was saying with these. That's what I was getting at with these hotels. Like, what do these hotels know? They're doing all this trafficking stuff. These people are popping up dead in these hotels in this region. Like, what is really going on down there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how easy is that to like overdose somebody? It's very easy. I mean, all you got to do is
extremely.
Especially if they have a prescription, if they have like a doctor prescription for some sort of medication, literally all you got to do is go in there and switch out their pills for like high amounts of fentanyl pills, which is what I believe happened to Prince. That's my personal opinion on what happened.
Speaking of fentanyl, you can go old school Watergate burglars, CIA style, when they try to put LSD on the steering wheel of Jack Anderson, the reporter, to cause him to hallucinate and crash. You could put some fentanyl in that regard, dude. And you don't have to use much, and it would because you don't have to ingest the fentanyl. You could come in contact with it with your skin.
Yeah,
pure
heroin.
Like that. Yeah, you could be fucking. It wouldn't take much. That's a good way to take someone out, right? And it would be called a drug overdose, right?
Yep.
Well, do you guys remember all of the accidental drug overdoses that came out of the Laurel Canyon? I've talked about this.
Come on, those were real drug overdoses. They just like to rock and roll.
JJ, come on, dude. I mean,
you mean to tell me Bobby Fuller didn't kill himself and then light his car on fire from the back seat? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That's what I'm talking about, JJ.
Okay.
All the accidental Laurel Canyon drug overdoses, and then it's like you got Marilyn
murder car
Monroe,
fires.
who I've also talked about, right? Marilyn Monroe's death doesn't make any sense, and the autopsy report agrees with me. And so it's just like, you cannot convince me that when somebody's coming out with stuff like this and then they end up an accidental drug overdose, that it was just purely an accident and this bitch getting hit by a bus and all this posting on Instagram and all this stuff. I mean, it's just like, how retarded do they? I mean, it's like you literally can't even believe your own eyes because they'll just tell you that it's, you know, that you're grasping at straws or whatever. But it's like, no, dude, this is
Do you remember
real.
Do you remember Anne Hesch's accident and car accident that she died from? She's literally trying to get off the stretcher.
Sitting up
no,
in
she
the
died on
body
the way to the
bag, like,
hospital.
fuck you, I'm not
Yeah,
dead. And it's
yeah,
like,
they get
no,
the video and they're like, no, that didn't happen. Didn't happen.
That one's crazy. Holy
Right?
shit. That one's wild. And then you got Jim Morrison too, died of an accidental drug overdose. You got the
I actually think he's still alive.
Were none of
I
those
actually think he died a few years
EMTs?
ago when Rush Limbaugh died.
Rush Limbaugh. That's who he was, JJ.
Right? Dude, there's a clip on YouTube. He's singing "This Is the End" with, you know, he's playing it in the studio and singing along. It is Jim Morrison. They use the same gold microphone. You can find the last photo of Jim Morrison about 4 months before he died. He's super fat and looks like a young Rush Limbaugh. And then last point, and he went on national TV at the height of his fame in like 68, and they're like, what do you want? You know, where do you see yourself in 10 years? He says, oh, I hope I just fade away in corporate America. That's what Rush Limbaugh did.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, obviously I would agree with that. I think a lot of the people who died in the 60s were actually just repurposed as different characters, but yeah, no, I mean, I think this
plans.
is
Yeah.
They're by
all
the
part of the
CIA
show.
Have put out an agenda. So they weren't even real to begin with. And then they
it. Yep,
the fake death, and then they just go on to do something else.
I did recently watch Ryder's documentary Clockwork Shining. That's what it's called, right?
Oh, did you like it?
I loved it. I love Kubrick. That's my guy right there. I have done a ton of research on him and I really enjoyed that. I really like your take on things. Anyways, I say all that to say he was part of the 60s too, right? And like the fake moon landing and all that. They can fake anything they want.
Fake
and
moon
I think
landing. How dare you? The
right.
achievement of mankind by Nazis.
But I'm just saying they can make you believe anything you want. A lot of that stuff came out of the 60s. I think a lot of the people that died in the 60s were repurposed. The point I'm trying to make though is that I think these people are actually dead. I think they get actually killed because of what they're trying to do. And that's like one of the saddest parts about this is that these are like real people dying and shit, and we'll never really know what happened to them.
For sure. Well, have you seen JFKX, Julia? Because that blew up my brain hole in reconsidering matters relative to the JFK, that whole Bay of Pigs situation.
Yes, I did see that one, and I also have Jay Widener I follow him on YouTube, and I've always really liked his stuff on Paul McCartney being replaced by a lookalike, and I've always really loved that stuff. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people will say like this stuff is staged, this stuff is fake, but I'm in the percentage of conspiracy theorists who thinks that these people actually die when you see stuff like this happening, especially like Virginia and the other two that died in the hotel. I think they're actually dead.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I think that's the complex nature of looking at these things, but I do think it is important to kind of consider those aspects, like, you know, like you all present there in JFKX Ryder, the whole, this is just all part of the show, right? You know, because it's quite a show too, you know what I mean? If you really think about it in the way you all present that argument.
Well, and not only that, there's so much stuff with JFK that is just completely, I mean, there's this Vanity Fair article. I don't want to detract from what we're talking about here, but this Vanity Fair article of JFK is talking about how he staged his own murder in a James Bond inspired spy film 2 months before his assassination. Okay, this Vanity Fair article is insane, and this came on the heels of the release of our documentary. So he essentially did a home movie faking his assassination 2 months before his supposed real assassination in Dealey Plaza, with the exact same Secret Service agents showing up on video. So it's just like, okay, well, this seems like it was like a test run, right?
Right.
They were just kind of testing this out. Nick, the articles in the bottom here. I just want to show it really quick so people can see it. It's the Vanity. Yes, is a Vanity Fair article that goes into detail about this. Came out at the beginning of the year, and it just goes into all of this stuff, like how Jackie wanted to be a filmmaker and a student of film, and how they shot this fake. Paul Landis was there. All the Secret Service agents were in on this fake assassination a couple of months before the. This is Landis talking about it right here. At one point, Landis told me that in 1963 he had taken part in a prank movie about an assassination. So here's evidence of JFK doing a fake assassination home video just a couple of months before the supposed real assassination Dealey plot.
It's all part of the show.
Wild. I mean, I say this all the time, but it becomes more and more true. I feel like we're living in the most interesting season of American Horror Story ever. I mean, it's just like one thing after another. What the
I like the reference. I'm not familiar with the backstory of that, but I like where your head's at there, except from the post-apocalyptic nature of what you're describing. Because I say the same thing. I feel like we live in a Philip K. Dick inspired nightmare.
Dude, you live in a transpocalypse nightmare.
Dude, don't get me started on Robert the Dolls, or don't make him trans either, because then I'll really be out of here.
Oh God.
I think we need a remake of Jaws where the sharks are transgender sharks.
I might watch it.
Oh my God.
It's a woke Spielberg flick. Is that what you're describing?
That's right. I would love
That
it.
sounds like prime AI slop. Take note of that, Nick. That's great AI slop.
A love transgender triangle between
Well, they can't kill the sharks because they're trans. They got to let them eat the humans still, right? That's kind of the shtick, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. But yeah,
you're killing Richard Dreyfuss and the old Roy Schneider. They're the ones getting murked because they're the ones trying to kill the shark, right? The trans shark. I like the plot line of your Jaws remake there, Ryder. That's good stuff.
I think Hollywood should send me an email.
In the middle,
transgender Jaws remake.
In the middle, you've got to have an interlude of the guy from Pretty Woman chasing a gerbil.
Oh God,
Richard Gere.
Richard Gere.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We should do that. We should definitely. Well, they're remaking Holes. They're remaking Holes, and they're making it trans. I think.
Come on, the LaBeouf classic.
Of course.
The Shia LaBeouf movie.
Yeah.
What was wrong with the first one? I loved it. I thought it was great. Not enough trannies.
Get ready for a transpocalypse version.
For God's sake, I thought that all the races were represented at least in the first one, but not enough trannies. Not enough trannies. I get it.
Here it is.
That was just a money move.
Disney's gender flipped Holes reboot announces cast and character details. A new gender flipped Disney Plus series version of Holes has just announced the cast and the characters is shaping up to look very differently than from the 2003 adaptation of the famous book. So
That's wild. I had no idea.
Oh fuck no.
Me either. I had no idea.
This girl who is playing no longer a boy named Stanley, but a girl named Haley. So so it's a girl playing a boy playing a girl, then playing a boy again.
Is this gonna be an Elliot Page? Fucking.
Is she gonna be the new what's her name? Ridley.
I don't think Elliot Page is acting anymore, right? Are they acting?
Yeah, he's been in some interesting movies.
Interesting. I'll check that out. Yeah.
I think they should get Bella Ramsey to play the lead role in this Holes reboot.
I'd like to see. I got a picture up there for Nick. I'd like to see a made-for-TV movie on this fella.
Oh shit!
Who's that?
That's Buffalo Jared Revisa, a likely mind-controlled assassin who went on a multi-state killing spree, but previous back in last May of 2024, but previous to that, he tried to get me to hire him as my PR guy when I wasn't looking for a PR guy, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And turns out the guy he murdered to start that killing spree hired him as his PR guy.
What?
I can't make this shit up.
Oh
He's
my
got
God.
a pink thong on.
And a NASA shirt. You like his NASA, halfsy. You know what I mean?
Up with the
You
NASA.
got you got to tell him
With the
about how he
NASA,
got
right?
caught. You got to tell him about how he got caught. That's the most hilarious part.
Oh, folks, continuing next Sunday for Operation GCD Sundays, the legends of Buffalo Jared Revisa. So when I say mind-controlled assassin, Ryder, he's from he used to work at it too. This infamous sports hypnosis and sports psychologist family, the Revisas. They're credited with breaking the curse of the GOAT, the curse that allowed the Chicago Cubs to win the 2016 World Series, which was almost predicted, as we discussed the other night with Julia and Nick on Operation GCD, was almost predicted by Back to the Future 2. They said 2015, so they were off by a year in that film.
Did you see where Netflix is editing movies now? They cut an entire scene out of Back to the Future, and then Amazon cut an entire scene out of the Russell Crowe Robin Hood movie.
I've heard these things.
I saw that.
I've heard these things.
Yeah, well, but also Mike Tyson was also hypnotized by his coach as well to be like they've been using hypnotism and all that shit for sports for a really long time.
Yeah,
it's creepy, right? It's creepy.
Did you ever hear about the big buff black dude from White Chicks that somebody was trying to diddle on him? Did you ever see that?
Yeah, it was Terry
Crews. Do you know he went to Interlochen summer camp for the acting and musical talented kids up there in Michigan, largely funded by Jeffrey Epstein?
The big buff black dude in White Chicks.
Yeah. As a teenager, he attended Interlochen.
What the fuck?
Here's a fun fact. Jeffrey Epstein style of Interlochen. Since we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein stuff with Giuffre. So the actor Anthony Rapp, he played in Dazed and Confused. He was the dirty kid with the glasses, right? He was in Rent. That fella. He came out and made allegations against Kevin Spacey publicly in circa 2016. Probably he said Kevin Spacey diddled him when he was 13 years old. Well, the summer is 13 years old. When that summer he was at Interlochen, a place where Jeffrey Epstein had his own cottage. Was Kevin Spacey diddling Anthony Rapp at Jeffrey Epstein's cottage at Interlochen? I'm just asking these questions. I have no idea.
Damn.
Well, have you seen the new logo for Nickelodeon? Looks like Little St. James Island.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Like because we all know like the Dan Schneider weirdness and like the Nickelodeon stuff that was going on, the Amanda Bynes and like whatever, Zoe Lynn Spears. But then you look at the new Nickelodeon Splat logo, and it literally, if you put it up next to Little St. James, it's like you could almost mix and match with them. It's like the same exact shape. So what's really have you heard the theories though that Jeffrey Epstein does?
Go ahead. I was just going to make a point on that Anthony Rapp guy. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, have you heard though that there are some people in the conspiracy theory community who are saying that Jeffrey Epstein never existed though, that he's a figment of our fucking imagination and that he's like a CGI fake person? I'm just saying, I don't agree with that, but that's something that's floating around.
That's
there.
the nihilism that erupts around conspiracy culture today. That's what that is. That's believe in nothing, and it's kind of, you can see it a little bit kind of creeping in a lot of aspects of it. I think that's I have not seen that though, Julian. Now, hey, Ryder, though, on one point on Anthony Rapp, I'm ashamed of myself. His actually most notable role is probably as the ancient alien cargo cultist cult leader at the end of the film Road Trip, where he starts his own cult, Heaven's Gate style, and then they don't drink the Kool-Aid. He's the only one who drinks the Kool-Aid.
Might be confusing Road Trip with Euro Trip.
No, he was the teacher's assistant in Road Trip, and at the end of it, he's competing a love interest for Amy Smart with Josh Brecken. I know too many. Don't ask me why I know all these people's names because I can't tell you the difference between Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton. But he plays the competing love interest.
Bill Paxton.
I enjoy both of them. Yeah, but he starts his own cult at the end, like Heaven's Gate style, and they kind of mix the Heaven's Gate, with they even have the robes and stuff. And he's the only one who drinks the Kool-Aid. Everyone else is like, "Fuck it, this dude just killed himself." That's probably Anthony Rapp's most notable role. I'm ashamed for not remembering that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that movie. I think
Oh man, it's a great scene.
Yeah, road trip, Euro trip. There was a lot of those style of comedies. They don't make those types of comedies anymore.
No, not at all.
Right.
That is weird. They really don't. Like, comedy has been narrowed down to a very, very tight thing. I mean, do they make comedy movies anymore? Do they make movies anymore? I haven't been paying attention.
Do they make? You had it right. Do they make comedy movies anymore? They make movies. I just don't think they're really comedies.
That's fucking nuts.
They're funny for a completely different reason.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess let's wrap up this Virginia Giuffre thing. We got
wrap it up. Yes, sir.
We got what's the last the video here? Okay, so Prince Andrew's ex-girlfriend, Lady Victoria Harvey, was on Piers Morgan. She's trying to debunk the whole photo with Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre with Ghislaine Maxwell in there. She's trying to say that the thing was photoshopped, that 3 people couldn't fit in between the banister and the end of the door frame. They go on about this for like 20 minutes. And then finally, a gentleman on this panel asked her, hey, where are these theories? Like, who's propping up your theories that this photo is faked? And you'll get her response here. This is really damning what she says here.
Awesome. Gotcha.
For reasons that remain completely inexplicable and which he couldn't explain to Emily Maitlis in that infamous Newsnight interview for the BBC. He flew to New York. He was seen in Central Park,
that was such a
walking with his mate. He spent 4 days at Epstein's house.
No, I believe
women were
that's
seen
incredible.
coming and going the entire time.
Yeah.
And he knew by then that his great buddy was a convicted
By
paedophile.
the way, so those photos of the girls coming out the house, now, they didn't come out for many, many years, so I don't even believe they were during that time.
Do you believe anything that incriminates Andrew or not?
A lot of the girls did not tell the truth.
Who is the great conspirator? Who's organising this conspiracy of yours?
It's the intelligence 3-letter word agencies that are wrapped up in this that I'm not going to go into right now because I would rather stay alive. But what I'm saying is,
do you know?
She just said it. She just said
good
it.
for her. I don't know who that lady is, but good for her.
It.
I couldn't believe it when I was watching this. I was like, did she just say that she's
still collecting a paycheck, though.
Yeah. She's being paid off
let it fly.
by the 3-letter organizations to go on this show to defend Prince Andrew that she's not even dating or even has a relationship with.
She can't even look at the camera either. She's
right.
There's a guest on there, right? These aren't paid, necessarily paid consultants or reporters, right? She's just his ex-girlfriend, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but she literally is like looking down and shaking her head.
For
the
sure. Somebody's a pair that's got her mouth.
time.
That's what needs to happen.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
literally, dude.
We got a person
kind
from
of
Perth
surprising.
saying something. I can't see it under there. Oh, there we go.
They deleted Virginia.
I believe it. I mean, fuck, man.
That is an interesting note
They are
because if
so
you think
corrupt.
if you think about the history of Australia, at least as far as these spooky activities go, relative to American politics, right? It's been seems to be pretty embedded with like CIA stuff since back to that whole Bay of Pigs situation when they were installing that kind of secret satellite site over there called like their Area 51. I'm sure Ryder's familiar with what I'm talking about. The Australian Area 51.
Aren't they in the Five Eyes?
Yeah, well, they are in the Five Eyes. Yeah, but and that's a good point too. So there's it's again, we can call it Australia and America in different places, but it seems like these networks of spooks go hand in hand, like maybe Pinecrest or something. There's like a whole Area 51 operation.
Yeah,
It was financed.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a joint operation between the American government and the Australian government.
Yeah, and it was funded. It started during the Kennedy administration, and somehow was signed off. I think on legislation he signed off on, executive order, maybe.
Yes.
Somebody said Pine Gap.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank
In
you.
the-
Yes, Pine Gap. Yeah.
in
So
the comments.
these things are very connected. Yeah, and again, Five Eyes, which that is, no one talks about that anymore, do they? Headless.
Nope. So New Zealand has a rocket program that is primarily centered around Rocket Lab, a private spaceflight company that operates in the Mahana Peninsula. So they've got all these rocket programs out there too, between Australia and New Zealand, and they're hoping to be like the center core of the whole satellite takeover of everything in our lives. So if there is a deep state out there and a big time intelligence network, I think that's probably what they'd be engaged in. I mean, she's got her brothers out there too. What are the odds that they're not working with one of these rocketry programs in Australia? These people are very hooked in, I think.
Again, that's a great point. And again, her uncle, Robert Gamble Cabell #3, appears to be the current member of her bloodline. There's 5 Cabell brothers. They all served as officers under, these initial Cabell families. So they're in the Gooch land of Virginia. So she's of one of those brothers, so I'm just saying there's a lot of Cabells that are in this mix, but her uncle appears to be the hereditary member on that line.
Cabell.
And
Things to consider.
her brothers are working like in all the weirdness, like Tesla and all that stuff. I mean, come on. And her dad clearly knew Epstein in some capacity. Let's not forget.
For sure. And her dad, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, has some interesting proclivities in life these days.
Yes, he is a cross-dresser.
There you go.
Shut the fuck up.
Wow.
Transpocalypse again.
Damn.
Oh my God.
Okay. Here's his. I'm gonna bring up his Facebook profile. They're eventually gonna make this shit private, so we can't say it anymore. Here's Virginia's dad's Facebook page.
Unless they want us to know.
Sky Roberts. Here it is. Okay. Are we sharing it? Okay. Yeah, I can't see it. Okay, got it. Okay, scroll down here a little bit. Okay, here he is cross-dressing. Boom.
Bam.
Oh, come on.
Come the fuck on.
When Ryder dropped that on me last week on his show, dude, I lost it. Like, that's fantastic. Great find, sir.
Okay,
Darlene, that's the name I'm going to give this, is Darlene Dirty Puss. Which is nasty. Just gross.
Kimberly Roberts. I love this picture, Sky. Your makeup looks better than mine.
Her makeup looks like dog shit, but that's besides the point. The point is gross.
Who's Kimberly? So this seems to be accepted amongst the Roberts family. I guess I didn't pick up on that comment before.
Jennifer says it's
Yeah, Sky Roberts is
that his sister?
That's Virginia's maiden name is Roberts.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that who's Kimberly Roberts' comment? Is that his dad? Is that
I don't know. Let's find out.
Guy's sister? His dad? Her dad's sister? Or is that who's this?
She lives in Spokane, Washington, from Oak Grove, California. So I'm guessing California. So some kind of relation.
Yeah. So it seems to be that it's accepted in the family that he's a cross-dresser. Then, huh?
Seems
it's not a secret.
I don't know exactly what relationship this Kimberly person is to Sky
That's
because
right.
it doesn't give us that information, but it definitely is a.
That's right. I mean, clearly kinfolk, right? Clearly kinfolk there, right?
It's definitely.
I was just kind of commenting on the generational nature of these things and being Virginia born into this stuff. Like maybe it wasn't just her mother's family on the Cabell side. Maybe she's born into it on both sides, right? And maybe that's why her folks are married in the first place.
That's what I would assume, just based off like previous research I've done, because it's usually like generational Satanism or something like that. And I'm not even trying to be hateful about Darlene Dirty Puss right here. It's just that
you leave Darlene Dirty Puss alone.
Well,
we don't need any hate crimes around here, Julia.
Darlene Dirty Puss had some type of hand in what happened to Virginia, in my opinion.
Kind of
So
questions his morals and ethics in life, right? Maybe he did sell his daughter and stuff if he's dancing around like a little lady here in life these days.
well, I have interviewed people who are survivors of SRA, and their family 9 times out of 10 is usually helping them and propelling them down that path. So, yeah, I mean, Darling Dirty Puss is definitely not getting off scot-free. I think that
I like your nickname, but strangely enough, he already had an ambiguous name in the first place. Well, they asked what his female name was. It
Robert
was Sky, right?
Sky.
So it was already that's what I'm saying. Was he born into some weird situation already?
Okay, so here's
right, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You leave Darling Dirty Puss alone. He was born into it too, Julie. We got at some point in time we got to stop pointing fingers.
This is Daniel Wilson.
Hold them accountable for their actions, but stop pointing fingers. You know what I mean?
This is Virginia Giuffre's half brother, Daniel Wilson, and he is a quality specialist at Blue Origin. This is the guy.
That is unbelievable.
Nice.
Yep, former return to service inspector, professional aircraft accessories, former aircraft maintenance technician at Colmer Delta Connection. So he worked for a bunch of aircraft companies, and now he works as a quality specialist for Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos's flight company that just launched all those female astronauts, as they say. They were in space for what, 5 minutes, and now they're
My ass.
They were very brave. They were very brave.
Fake capsule and everything. Did you see that thing? There's no way.
See, here's my deal with it. They're getting worse on each production. The one with Bill Shatner was better than this one, and that one was bad.
100. What was it, Katy Perry? Up it with her
can't nail
dirty
the landing,
puss.
though. How hard is it to nail the landing on these things? And they got the landing wrong with Bill Shatner too. They're not doing a good job.
Right.
Sorry, I believe. I think
I'm gonna make a Darling Dirty
version.
Puss Muppet for you, Julia, out of
Thank
Sky
you.
Roberts.
Thank you, Darling Dirty Puss mascot. But I was gonna say Kubrick's version of the 2001: A Space Odyssey was better than the Katy Perry footage. Okay, let's just be
For
real.
sure.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Ryder, got anything left?
Okay, the mission lasted 11 minutes. Sorry, guys. What did I say? 5 minutes? It was a very brief amount of time, and then they didn't even break the upper atmosphere. So, yeah. 5 minutes, 11 minutes. It was officially Katy Perry flew into space on Monday, April 14th, 2025, as a part of Blue Origin's NS-31 mission, an all-female crew that also introduced Lawrence Sanchez, Gail King, Ashwa Bowie, Amanda, and Caroline Finn. So the flight reached a height of 62 miles, not even out of the upper atmosphere of Earth, crossing, which is the boundary between Earth's atmosphere and outer space. The mission lasted about 11 minutes. So very quick, very short. And somehow the door opens from the inside.
I mean,
weird.
That's like believing in the fucking Easter Bunny to me. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just so stupid. I can't believe any of it anymore.
It is unbelievable. Anything to do with space. Wasn't it just who launched that lunar module onto the, was it Iran or no, India? Remember when India did the lunar thing, and then the thing
looked like an Atari game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember seeing something and
poop?
just
Wasn't it
laughing.
biofuel poop fueled rocket?
It was a
The
poop
Indians?
rocket,
I mean, they may as well. It's the most abundant resource, right?
and it's curry poop too, which is
Oh,
got to have more potency.
That's how they get to the moon with that one.
They could fill that bitch up with curry farts, and it would blast you into the next universe, dude.
Right.
Is that what Parsons meant by solid state fuel? What was his magic mixture?
It's curry.
Well, it's Crowley. It's dealing with butt stuff. It's dealing with butt stuff. It's Crowley. So I mean, that's
curry.
Nick's read some Crowley. If anyone's ever read some Crowley, that dude was into some weird anus related activities.
Yeah, he was. What was the stuff that Doc Brown used in the DeLorean to get it up to the gigawatts? What was it called?
The flux capacitor.
No, the stuff that he used to like fuel it. I want to say petroleum, but that's
plutonium.
We don't remember because
plutonium.
Netflix cut it out.
Oh, Netflix cut it out. Yeah, nice. So it's curry farts and plutonium to get into the next universe.
That's the secret recipe to get to the moon.
Yep.
Libyans. Maybe that's the part they cut out.
They might have, right? Because it's like, oh, we got to be sensitive towards the terrorists.
Yeah, see, they put a bunch of fuel in the ship. When the fuel runs out, they switch over to curry farts, and then that lets them coast.
That way it's totally green. This is the green project. It's totally green. Or I mean, technically it's brown, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Recycled curry farts too.
Yeah, not even
and
real.
This is how they'll block out the sun.
Right.
Oh God!
Everywhere.
And that kid's how a transgender child's born.
Yes.
The transpocalypse now.
I think we've decoded it, all of it.
Yeah,
right there.
Should just put the brain. Oh, that was awesome. Ryder, was there anything else that you wanted to present, or you got still?
I think we covered.
That wasn't enough. That was a lot.
Everything. I think we covered everything that I got here, and yeah, appreciate you guys. It was a really good conversation, and I think that a huge investigation needs to be brought against Robert Giuffre. So you got Robert Giuffre, you got the last name of Virginia Roberts, you got Sky Roberts, you got Daniel Wilson, you got Sky Williams Roberts, got Sky Rocket Roberts, you got Leah Sky Patrick, which was another victim of Epstein. It's just so freaking confusing. All the names are like very similar that are all involved with this stuff. But an investigation needs to be launched right now onto Robert Giuffre before it's too late. And this thing in 10 years turns into a Netflix documentary. Did Virginia really kill herself, or did she not? What was going on? Did the police?
You nailed that, Ryder.
If it doesn't,
you nailed it.
If it doesn't happen now, it's going to be a Netflix documentary in the future where nothing is going to be able to be done because there's too much time that's passed in between the event, and then they're not going to be able to do anything about it because all the evidence is going to be gone, and whoever did it is going to get away with it. And I'm not saying that Virginia's husband was 100% the one that killed her, but whenever you read the People magazine article and she's making these statements like the next altercation that I get into it with him, I might not make it out alive. Okay, that might be the reason why she's saying that she only has 4 days to live, because she knows that he's going to kill her. It's circumstantial evidence, but the People magazine article is like really all that you need to launch an investigation on him, at least, because if he wasn't responsible for her death, then he was in some way, shape, or form at least involved. And we need the investigation now, because the Sun article is, we didn't read it, but it goes into detail that it's going to be 2 years until we get the coroner's report or the autopsy from Virginia Giuffre.
That's ridiculous. And I say all the time, Ryder, just to your point, because I think that's a very good point. And I'm so glad that you said it. If it makes it to a Netflix documentary, it's fucked. Right?
Yeah.
It's done. It's fucked. You got just forget it. So
for sure, Nick keeps bringing this point up. What you're describing there, Ryder, seems like what Nick often brings up. But this is kind of the design to use the whole hog effect of these events to profit off of every aspect possible. So perpetrating it through documentaries is part of the objective going into these matters. It's not an after product, after effect. I agree with Nick. It's a planned intent.
I mean, the Gilgo Beach stuff isn't even over, and there's already documentaries.
There's already a
Yeah, like,
documentary
there's-
on
there's-
Hulu.
There's
for
3
Diddy.
Brian Koberger Did It documentaries, and he ain't even had trial yet. He's barely had hearings.
Nope.
Well, with Diddy, like that's all over Hulu right now to watch the
Yeah.
stupid
Yeah.
Diddy trial. Once it makes it to Hulu or Netflix, forget about it. Just forget
Get it
about
out of
it.
here.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention though, before we do like finally wrap it up, I do wonder this. I guess maybe your opinions as well. I think just Julia definitely is probably a little bit on board with what I'm wondering about. The family. I mean, I know you don't want to point at the victim's family because they may be innocent and blah blah blah, but I don't know, man. They work with some weird companies and have some weird connections that I just wonder about that. Not saying that they're, I don't know. Maybe the
And
family.
they were the first ones to say her brother and her brother's wife were the first ones to come out and say that it's 100% definitely a suicide. We're like, it's a suicide, 100%, no way around
That
it. And then later, her dad comes out in this article over here and is like, yeah, I don't believe that it was a suicide and it should be an investigation that's launched into this. I mean, just whenever you bring up the whole thing of her saying on X in 2019 that she would never commit suicide, I mean, that's circumstantial evidence enough in my eyes that warrants an investigation. I mean, this TMZ article right here that I brought up earlier says dad wants suicide investigated. Okay, so he doesn't believe that she committed suicide, but her family automatically ruled it a suicide. So when something is automatically ruled a suicide, if there's not a homicidal investigation opened up, it's just
done.
A suicide. But the thing about it is if it takes 2 years to get the coroner's report and the autopsy report, and something else shows up that confirms homicide, there's a statute of limitations on prosecution for crimes in Australia. It's 1 to 5 years in Australia. Okay, so that could be out of
Even for murder?
that could be, yeah, it could be out of the term for doing an investigation or bringing any charges against somebody if the coroner finds something other than suicide. If there's
Right,
evidence of a homicide, then
The longer you have evidence laying around, the longer it is that you've got to present that evidence, and that they might not be able to do it. I mean, especially if there's biological indicators, and we're not going to know for 2 years. So a lot of that stuff could be contaminated by the time it ever goes to trial.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
if
another thing
anyone's
is-
ever even looking for it, right? I mean,
And that's what I'm trying to bring the attention to. I mean, people really need
Yep.
to share this out. They need to read this People Magazine article. We need to get this thing. There needs to be an investigation on him. And also, it's really good timing because it's essentially proven that her injuries weren't from the bus crash. It was from her husband beating her, according to essentially what she's saying in a roundabout way in the People Magazine article. So she probably already has some bruising, right, from the time that she died. I mean, she doesn't really look like she has any bruising in the photos after she was released from the hospital, but there could still be some residual bruising like around her neck from maybe her husband like strangling her or something. So then if that happened, then that wouldn't even be looked at as like evidence of a homicide. That would be looked at like injuries that happened 3 weeks before from whenever she was in the hospital. Okay, so it's perfect timing. They got her at the perfect time, and I think that there needs to be at least a homicide investigation. At least cover your P's and Q's on this thing, so it doesn't become a like I was mentioning. A Hulu or a Netflix documentary in the future where it's all nothing but speculation and theories, and you have the police officers on there. They're interviewing the police officers, and the police officers are like, "Oh, we had more evidence, but we didn't follow up on it." Then the interviewer asked,
ridiculous.
"Oh, well, what about the autopsy? Why wasn't the autopsy performed? What about her husband beating her earlier in the year of 2025 before she died?" "Oh, well, we didn't look into that. We didn't think that was relevant." Like, that's what it's going to be. If it happens, that's what it's going to be.
100. Agreed.
Yeah, well said.
And you know what? This is possible because that guy who just got murked by Peter Thiel. No, not Peter Thiel's. What was it? It was the OpenAI. He's getting his autopsy.
The whistleblower.
The whistleblower is getting his autopsy. So things can move in the right direction on these things. So they're not going to be able to claim that that was a suicide like they wanted to really badly.
Right. No, they did declare it a suicide initially, right?
Right. But now they got an independent autopsy, and that's going to. It's an open and shut case.
That's a good point.
All right. Ryder, why don't you let everybody know, just in case, where they can find all your work again?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Love all your input. Love it. I have to try and get you all on my show sometime in the future. Let's do a big roundtable on my show if you guys want to. If you're interested. You can find me on Raised by Giants on YouTube and any and all podcast platforms. If you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can find me on X at Raised by Giants 8 and Instagram at Raised by Giants Pod. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ryder. Great stuff. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time.
Oh yeah, and I will have if I don't have Ryder's, I may have actually. I think I have everybody's. I'm not sure, but if there's any links that I didn't forget that I forgot, they will be down there now. But they should be down there. So yeah, definitely go check out everybody's work. Ryder, like I said before, anytime you ever have a topic, you're always welcome on. It's always great. Always love your work. Again, Julia, Headless, and JJ, thank you so much for joining the show. It was an awesome chat, and I knew it would be with you all here. And thank you, the chat. The chat was great. It was awesome. There was a lot of great stuff in there. So a lot of the same names and some new ones. So thank you very much for jumping on. And that is the end of another Occult Rejects. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.